The US Defense Department says the Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was likely killed in the plane crash near Moscow that killed 10 people. That's according to an initial assessment. However, the Pentagon press secretary declined to give any details about how the department made that determination. While the US intelligence community is still assessing what caused Wednesday's plane crash, the Pentagon said there isn't any indication that a surface-to-air missile took down the plane. British defence sources have told the BBC they believe Russia's FSB spy agency is most likely to have been responsible. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky has denied any involvement. He told journalists everyone is aware who is involved. Crash investigators have been combing through the wreckage. Beyond the passenger list, though, there is still no official confirmation as to who was on board. The apparent death of Mr. Prigozhin will have global implications. As well as fighting in Ukraine, his mercenary group has been active in parts of Africa. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has broken his silence over the downing of the jet, saying the head of the mercenary group was a talented person who made serious mistakes in life. Russia's president also sent condolences to the families of all 10 people said to be on board the plane. Well, we'll get the very latest from our correspondent in Moscow shortly, but first the BBC has spoken exclusively to Ukraine's Deputy Minister of Defence, Vladimir Gary, on exactly what Prigozhin's death means in the war.
It was a very dangerous group of people, and the death of the leadership is very crucial because Prigozhin was a very symbolic, charismatic leader of this group. They really accepted him as a leader, and when this group lost this charismatic leader, it means a lot. First of all, they losing confidence, they losing morale, they losing orientation. I'm talking about the low ranks, and they don't understand what to do next.
So there is still plenty of mystery around the death of Mr. Prigozhin. Our reporter in Moscow, Will Vernon, gave me the latest.
Well, we're still waiting for the authorities to give their official version of events, what caused the plane crash, and whether they've identified the bodies yet. President Putin, in his comments last night on Russian television, essentially confirmed that Yevgeny Prigozhin was on board. And he said that technical tests and genetic tests would have to be carried out now, and that people should wait for the results of that investigation. Now, I'm sure President Putin wouldn't have said those comments unless he was absolutely sure that Yevgeny Prigozhin was on board that flight. Now, interesting comments, I thought, from President Putin. A bit of a mixed message about Yevgeny Prigozhin. On the one hand, he said that he was a man with a complicated history who made serious mistakes in his life, but he also said that he was talented and achieved necessary successes. I think that last comment referring perhaps to the Wagner Group's success in seizing the city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine. Now, I think Vladimir Putin was being careful with his words. You know, it's a bit of an understatement to say someone has a complicated history and made serious mistakes when they launched a mutiny and marched on your capital city. But, you know, interesting comments from Vladimir Putin. Over in the US, a Pentagon spokesman saying that Washington has no information that a surface-to-air missile was responsible for bringing down the aircraft. And that corresponds to what some Russian media here are saying. Several media outlets quoting sources in Russian law enforcement saying that the main theory amongst Russian investigators is that it was some sort of bomb, some sort of explosive device placed in the plane that caused the aircraft to come down. But again, that is unconfirmed at this stage.
Will Vernon in Moscow. Well, there is, of course, speculation as to whether Mr. Prigozhin really is dead. There have been reports previously that he's been killed, which have turned out to be false. In the last hour, the UK Ministry of Defence has posted on social media that it is highly likely he is indeed dead, even though there is not yet definitive proof that he was on board the plane which came down.